3, 2, 1. Thank you for tuning in and welcome to The View. I'm John Donut and I will be your host for tonight. Tonight we will be discussing the cloud penetration experiments that are going to be conducted by the U.S. Air Force. A week from now, the U.S. Air Force will be conducting experiments on human crews somewhere over Nevada. They are going to be dropping atomic bombs in Nevada and having U.S. airmen fly through the mushroom clouds, and they're going to be measuring radiation and other effects on these U.S. airmen. To find out more about these experiments, let's talk to Brick, who will discuss the weather and other things. Brick?
Good morning, San Diego! I am Brick Tamlin with KVWN-TV, and today I am going to be talking to you about the effects of the nuclear testing here in Nevada. So as you can see here, there's a low pressure system developing over the California-Idaho border, which is going to bring with it some unwanted precipitation and strong winds. Now as you can see by my chart here, the strong winds are going to be coming in and directly contacting the established path that the plane will be taking right over the test site. Now, as I discussed before, that unwanted precipitation and strong winds are going to carry over these mountains. Oh, excuse me a second here. Thank you very much. These mountains here, and it's going to settle in the Utah, Arizona area right by this X. Now the effects of this can be catastrophic because if this radiation settles into the soil there, the desert sand is very absorbent of nuclear radiation. This could have long-standing effects on the aquifers that are so heavily relied on by the Arizonians and Utahnians.
Thank you for that, Brick. Now to find out about what the public knows about this, let's go to our street cam where...
What do you think about dropping atomic bombs and flying through the mushroom cloud and measuring radiation effects?
I don't know. That doesn't sound like a good idea.
Well, did you know that the U.S. Air Force is about to do that on the human crew?
Really? I didn't know that.
Well, thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. So apparently the public is not very well informed about these events. To find out more about these events, we turn to our panel over here. We have in our panel Lieutenant Dan of the U.S. Air Force, who is going to be overseeing these events that are experiments that are going to take place in about a week. We have Dr. Hu from the Harvard School of Medicine, and we have Comrade Petrovich from the USSR, who will give us the international perspective on all of this. So, to start out, Lieutenant Dan, why is the U.S. Air Force conducting these experiments on U.S. airmen? What does the public need to know about these experiments?
Well, the main thing the public needs to know is that these training exercises will save the taxpayers thousands of dollars each year. We want to figure out the minimum amount of protective measures we need to take, such as clothing and equipment to supply to our Air Force pilots and crew members on planes.
Excuse me, I could not help but notice that you mentioned that you aim to figure out this minimum amount of radiation exposure, and I was wondering if there are no preliminary data to back this. Are you willing to risk your military men just for the sake of saving taxpayers some money?
We've conducted lab experiments on animals to figure out the effects of radiation, but we want to apply this on the battlefield with real people in real time.
Okay, now that we're talking about animals, I'm assuming that animals have not learned the power of speech yet and therefore cannot give their consent. So I was wondering about these military men. Have they given their consent? Do they know about the purpose of the experiment?
Well, the military men are doing this as part of a training exercise to be ready for war.
The Soviet Union disapproves of this U.S. show of force in the international community by blatantly dropping nuclear weapons on their own territory.
Well, comrade, it's not so much a show of force as more of a training exercise for our servicemen.
Settle down there, guys. Let's discuss the medical effects of these experiments. Won't there be high levels of radiation in this mushroom cloud that is produced that the U.S. airmen are going to be flying through? What about the protective gears? Do they need protective gear? Are they going to be wearing any precautionary gear? Have there been any studies which could inform what we would expect to see here?
Well, due to the lack of information that we have currently, I can only comment with regards to previous studies that have been done, and based from those studies, they have shown that radiation does affect living things, including human beings. And based from these, I would personally recommend that the cloud penetration experiment be postponed until further notice, and prior to that, perform more studies and experiments that do not use humans as subjects.
Well, we can't really wait around because the idiot Soviets could attack us at any moment.
The Soviet Union will not stand for this aggression from the capitalist Americans.
And again, guys, settle down a little. What about the Soviet perspective on this, the international perspective? Has the Soviet Union conducted similar experiments? Will they be conducting similar experiments to our cloud penetration experiments?
It is the opinion of the Soviet Union that testing is not necessary. We have reactors built in Ozersk that are perfectly fine and operational, and the people in the zone are healthy. They have not suffered from any radiation effects whatsoever. We do admit, however, there are those without sufficient conviction to the Soviet cause, and they have had to be relocated to other areas. But of those relocated, we have had no complaints.
I have a question about how these people remain healthy despite working in such environments.
There have been no reported injuries while on the job.
And by reported injuries, so there may be injuries, but simply go unreported?
We have a reporting box on the front gate that is guarded by armed guards at all times.
See, as I said, the Soviets are showing aggression towards people trying to report injuries.
Okay, well, thank you for all who have participated. Thank you, Lieutenant Dan, for giving us the U.S. Air Force perspective on this. Thank you, Dr. Hu, for flying out from Harvard to give us the scientific perspective on all this. And thank you, Comrade Petrovich.
For the last time, it is Comrade Petrovich.
I'm sorry, but thank you, Comrade Petrovich, for giving us the USSR and the international perspective on all of this. And thank you to the viewer for tuning in. Join us at 11 for talking about American culture, how it's changing, is it good or bad, and what we can do about said change.
Love your own name.
I'm just so angry at these capitalist Americans, I cannot remember my own name.
Time for some vodka now.
Where is my vodka?